It's been a little more than 3 weeks since Boise Mayor Lauren McLean asked her police chief to step down. It came after 7 Investigates story brought to light officers' complaints against Chief Ryan Lee. For the first time, we're hearing from a Boise City Council member after they read through all those complaints. Alexandra Duggan joins us now. Alex, Councilman Patrick Bagent told you he learned policies to hold a police chief accountable really are murky. What does he mean by that?
Morgan, Patrick Bagent said he read the complaints in a Boise Office of Police Accountability report. 9 officers complained that the chief created a hostile work environment and used abusive language towards them. Bagent said the OPA did everything right, and he doesn't think anyone dropped the ball when it came to investigating the complaints.
What does it look like to hold a high-ranking police officer accountable in Boise?
It's definitely a gray area situation. There are policies and procedures for various city departments and various city personnel in various different ways. It gets murkier and more challenging as you get up to the higher levels of leadership.
Laid out in the city's standard of conduct, certain harsh, derogatory language and treatment are unacceptable.
It talks about, hey, this language is unacceptable, this is unacceptable, X, Y, and Z. And a lot of the things that were unacceptable in that are the things that these officers were saying that they were, the ways that they were being treated. So, I mean, why was that not addressed? Like, if there was no policy violation, as I've been told, but it's right there, I mean, where's the line?
It's a good question and a tough question for me to answer as somebody with a responsibility to personnel information. I'm not going to characterize one way or another whether those are true or whether it was addressed, both of which would go to confidential personnel information. And I guess it's difficult for me to talk about the specifics of this situation without divulging information that's confidential, both to the complaining officers and to our former police chief.
Emails obtained by KTVB allege Human Resources did not investigate Lee for the hostile work environment claims. Mayor McLean confirmed to KTVB HR sent the officers to another department called Internal Affairs. Because Lee oversaw IA, the officers went to the Office of Police Accountability, OPA, to file their complaints instead. OPA then recommended the mayor suspend Lee while a third-party employment firm reviewed the claims. She never placed him on leave. She also never placed him on leave during a separate criminal investigation into allegations that he broke an officer's neck during a briefing, with the mayor saying he did not violate any policy and procedure. She spoke to KTVB a couple weeks ago.
What we asked that third party to do was review the complaints at face value, as if they were true, and tell us if any crimes have been committed, if any policies have been violated, or if there are other steps that ought to be taken. As a manager, I received that information back. No crimes have been committed, no policies have been violated.
Do you believe that OPA did the correct process of what they were supposed to do in this situation in taking the complaints, recommending something, doing that intake, and writing up kind of what was supposed to be done or what they thought was supposed to be done? Was that kind of in their bounds?
So did OPA do the correct thing by receiving complaints? Absolutely, 100%. You don't know what color a complaint is until you see what the complaint is. Could we have done a better job at directing or moving different types of complaints to different types of city, different organs of the city government? That is exactly what the council is, I think, looking at and trying to sort out with clearer policies and procedures.
The mayor never briefed city council on asking Lee to resign, so city council was scrambling to figure out what happened. She said in hindsight, she regrets that. Bagent says over the past 2 weeks, city council has pored over the complaints. Because they're considered personnel records, Bagent couldn't comment on what they said. But he did say the 9 officers followed all the correct steps when trying to issue a complaint.
Look, anybody who works for the city of Boise, not a police officer or anybody who has a concern, a complaint, or even just a question, should be communicating about those things. And that's what these officers did. I don't know that the statements in the complaints are true. I don't know that they're false.
The city of Boise doesn't exactly have any precise direction or policies around how to investigate a police chief.
It's very, very challenging to know with certainty that these types of issues are being handled correctly and according to policy and procedure. And I think I can pretty confidently speak for everyone on the council when I say that is something that we are all working very hard to streamline, simplify, and fix, because it's not fair or helpful to anyone to have ambiguity in those kinds of areas.
So, if the mayor and city council say Chief Lee didn't violate any city policies, what policies need to be changed? Badgett says likely policies establishing where officers turn to file complaints against their chief, and the process for investigating BPD command staff.
I see a situation that's very challenging just based on the nature of the people involved. A high-level department head is a different story than perhaps somebody else in the city. I don't see any balls being dropped. And that's something I know that people are worried about. I see possibly some ways that the balls could have been passed or handled or played to the end zone more efficiently. And that's exactly the kind of thing that the council is looking at.
Ron Weininger stepped in as interim police chief. Whoever permanently fills this role will now have to adhere to new city policies that the council plans to implement.
All right, Alex, thank you so much for staying on top of this story. And I know we interviewed the mayor recently as well. So if people want to check out that interview, they can go to the 7 Investigates tab on ktvb.com. Alex, thank you so much.